The outcome of their lives. Who has an outcome of their lives to be considered?
Because we all have faith in Jesus.
People who are dead. The people in verse 7 are former leaders who have passed on. They spoke to you the word of God. They have shown you the outcome of their way of life. You can see how their life ended and that they remained faithful to the end. They are leaders who are no longer with you. Versus the ones in 17, what does it say about them?
Oh, it's in present tense.
Yeah,
they keep watch.
They have rule over you.
They keep watch. They are currently giving you things to obey. They have a current joy that's not a burden. They're your living leaders who are still with you today. Versus the ones in verse 7 who are gone. They've earned their reward. Do you see that difference now? So when you go back, his whole point is that he's building to in 11, 12, and 13 is that these people have been there. They are the examples we are supposed to follow, even though we don't have the names of all of them. Because if you come to the end of Hebrews 11, he says, and he just starts naming things that happened, doesn't even give the name of the people. Some of them are not biblical characters. Some of them are historical characters who lived outside of the time of Bible inspiration, such as, if you look at the end of chapter 11, what person there
35.
What's that?
Women received back their dead, raised to life again. Then there were others who were tortured, refusing to be released.
Who are the women that received their dead raised to life again? Remember the child that...
The one that had all those kids that all...
that alive, remember, no, that had their children raised. Remember the child Elijah raised from the dead, the child Elisha raised from the dead. There were people, but then it goes on and says not just them, but it says others were tortured and refused to be released so that they might receive a better resurrection. Do you see that? Does that refer to a specific Old Testament tale that there was a woman whose children were tortured and she allowed that to happen so that they would gain a better resurrection?
I was just thinking something. So let's say someone died and went to hell, and that was one of the people that was brought back to life. Does that mean they had the opportunity to then get saved and then go to heaven when they died again?
Well, I don't know that there's anyone who's died and gone to hell and been resurrected.
Oh, so all those people that died and were brought back, they were just in the paradise version of hell, or?
Correct. Well,
Yeah.
seemingly.
Where were those people that died and came back?
We can answer that, but let's finish this and then we'll answer that. There's a story from the Maccabean era, 165 BC, about a woman during Antiochus Epiphanes' reign, where he was sending out his soldiers with a priest of Zeus with them. They would capture people and they would set up an altar to Zeus and say, put pig fat on the altar or we'll kill you. They captured a woman and her 10 children, her 10 sons. They brought the oldest forward and said, sacrifice pig fat for your family and we'll let your whole family go. He refused. And they murdered him in front of the mother and the other 9 children. Then they took the second oldest, did the same thing and murdered him. And the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh and the eighth and the ninth. And they came to the last young child. And they pled with him, just put it, and they pled with the mother, tell him, your family doesn't have to be wiped out. And she said, I have watched 9 of my children perish at your hands. They are in a better resurrection. You have no power over them. I will not deny my last child the right to join them. And they flew into a rage and murdered him and her and him.
I do have a question with that. Now, better resurrection, were those children saved?
Were they people of faith?
No.
I would think so if they would
they
not.
were willing to die for.
If
She
they
probably
would.
was. I don't know about
Well, the
children.
kids had the decision of
Yeah,
whether
they
they were
made
going
their
to
own
sacrifice,
decision,
and
yeah.
they said, no, that's not what we should do.
Right.
Think
Isn't
of
it like
Libya
they
with the
would've lived?
construction workers as
It's
well.
the same
with
thing as
beheadings.
Can I just, we've mistaken that salvation is some ritual. Faith is not a ritual. Faith is not walking to the front of a church or praying a prayer that somebody fed you. Salvation is not standing up in front of a crowd and answering questions. Do you believe? Yes, I believe this. Faith, and that's the difference between James and Paul. Because when James says, are you saved by your faith alone? What's his answer?
Look at your works.
Without works is dead.
Faith without works is dead. Show me your faith without works, I'll show you my faith by my works. So faith is the practical conforming of my life to the reality of not only that God exists, but who he is and what he demands. So the person that says, I believe in God, but that acts like there is no God and I can live any way I want to, that's not faith. On the other hand, the person who acknowledges that there is a God and here's what he expects and I'm going to conform to it, that's faith. Did they conform to what God said?
Yeah.
Now remember, when is the Maccabean revolt? 165 years
You see,
before Jesus is born. Actually, you can add 4 to 5 years to that, maybe 6. So it's 170 years before Jesus. No, 160 years, not 65, because you got to take them off. He was born before Christ. So they lived out their faith. They chose death rather than disobedience to God. If that doesn't show faith, what does? So these are people, some in the Bible, most in the Bible, but some not even in the Bible, some from Jewish history, all of whom are showing their faith by the choices that they made. And you can see that, just go back a little bit more, this is down the, but look at 11:9. What's that say?
You want it in King James?
That's fine.
Okay, by faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob.
What's a tabernacle?
Tent.
Yeah, the tent.
A tent.
Yeah. With Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise.
For he was looking forward to a city whose foundations and whose architect and builder is God. Now, that's not just them. Look down at verses 13 and 13 through 16. What's that say?
Faith.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
These all died in faith, not having received the promises and having seen them afar off, were assured of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For those who say these things declare plainly that they seek a homeland. And 15 is, and truly, if they had called to mind that country from which they had come out, they would have had the opportunity to return.
Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he's prepared a city for them. The whole idea of faith here is that these are people whose lives were changed by what they accepted as the truth of God. And when verse 14, I like the NIV there, it says, people who say such things. Which people? Which people? Every single person who has true faith. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they'd been thinking of the country they'd left, they'd have had plenty of opportunity to return. But they're longing for a better country.
So one situation that comes to mind to me is when David loses the child he had with Bathsheba and said, he cannot come to me, but I can go to him.
Yeah.
I love that verse.
Now, with all that as background, let's go to chapter 12, verse 1. This cloud, all these people, who are all these witnesses, what do they all have in common?
They're all dead.
They're all dead. They finished their course. What is the difference between them and angels?
They're people that were on earth and now they're in heaven.
That's true. Think about what that means.
They're human beings.
So what does that mean?
They're made in God's
They made a
image.
decision.
They inherited salvation, and angels can't do that.
Well, angels made choices. What choice did angels have?
Join
Every
Satan
one of
or
them.
God.
Join Satan or stay with God.
One or the other.
Remain faithful but here's the thing that no angel in heaven has that every believer in heaven has. Every believer in heaven knows what it is to struggle against sin. No angel does. How many sinful angels are there in heaven?
No
How
more.
many forgiven angels are there in heaven?
Oh, zero.
How many angels are there that understand the pull and the lure of sin?
A third.
None.
Well, didn't they have the
Yeah,
They're not in
I agree
heaven.
with Derek, there was a third of
Didn't
them.
they
But
have-
they're not in heaven now.
But
They
didn't
were
they-
cast out.
Didn't they have the
Right.
temptation
All
to
the other
join
way.
Satan though?
But temptation is not sin.
Giving into it is.
So all of those witnesses know what it's like to live in this body on earth and face these temptations. I deal with kids all the time and they say, but you don't understand, in your day it wasn't like today.
Mhm.
Yes, it was. It was different, but it was the same. So he says they understand that. And then he says, so let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. Now, what is his point there with easily entangled sin?
To run with patience, like to.
But he doesn't just say and throw off the sin. He defines it as sin that entangles. So easily entangles.
Catches you.
You get caught up in
Gets
it.
a hold of you.
And here's the principle, that once I give into sin, it forms a propensity for that sin. And it becomes easier and easier to be entangled and harder to resist. And it is a weakness every day till the day that you leave this earth. That's why here's a drug addict that went deep into sin. How did he go deep into sin the first time? Into drugs.
Tempted.
But what did that look like?
A friend, the
Somebody
TV ad.
saying
But
something.
almost always there's a path that's followed. Let's take alcohol, or we can talk about any other drug. We can do a couple different drugs. Here's an alcoholic, raging, has horrible alcoholism. He started by the first time he sat down, he drank 2/5 of vodka.
Not the first
Well, I'll
one,
tell you
maybe.
personally, it was self-pity.
But the first time you did it, what was it?
One drink.
One drink, maybe a beer. And then the next time it was 2 beers.
Somebody enticed him.
And then, oh, that beer's, but you need to try this. Same with, let's talk about street drugs. First time somebody does street drugs, how does it start? How does it almost always start?
One little bit.
Party
What
with
drug?
a friend.
Marijuana.
Marijuana. Oh, it's not a gateway drug.
Sure is.
Point to me a full-blown heroin addict that didn't start on marijuana. There aren't many of them. And then they gradually went to, usually the next step
After marijuana.
after marijuana?
Could be cocaine,
Alcohol.
speed.
Could be cocaine, could be speed, or what's the
Alcohol.
Meth.
big one?
Nowadays,
Crack.
Yeah.
painkillers.
Yes.
Opiates.
Prescription drugs, opiates. Now, what's the non-addictive drug that we've invented to replace morphine?
Fentanyl.
Marijuana.
Non-addictive?
Non-addictive. It was advertised that way in the 90s.
They used to sell them bottles.
Yeah,
Put it on
non-addictive.
your kids' gums.
No. It's a pill.
About a pill?
Yeah.
Oxycodone.
Oxycodone.
I
Oxycodone.
don't ever
Yes.
remember that being non-addictive.
That's how they marketed it.
That's how it was.
They used to have
It was
folks
a
that would go
total
to the
lie.
doctors. Yeah, they would push it like they push aspirin.
Yeah. Oh, you got a pain? It's non-addictive. You can take as much as you want. And then when you can't get the prescription, because oxycodone's very expensive if you're buying it, then where do you go?
Heroin.
Not anymore. It used to be heroin,
Fentanyl.
now it's
Fentanyl.
fentanyl. Yeah. But see, it didn't start with my first day of doing drugs was fentanyl, was hardlining fentanyl. It started up here, and it took a long time, maybe weeks, maybe months, maybe years, to go from up here to down here. It took a period of time to go from that first beer down to, downing a fifth of bourbon, in a single setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get clean. You're forgiven. And you fall. Where do you start? Do you start back up with one beer?
Yeah.
Where do you start?
Right back where you were.
Right back at the lowest level. If you fall in drugs, does it start with just, a couple toots on the marijuana? No, and so you've got somebody like Seymour Hoffman, who after 30 years clean, what's the first thing he does?
Heroin.
Goes out in Main Street.
He died, didn't he?
Oh, yes, he did.
I thought
He
I heard
overdosed. Yeah.
Yep.
First time he shot up. He wasn't used to what's on the street
He
now.
took what he thought he could handle 30 years ago.
Yep, bang, he was dead before his body hit the ground.
I've seen young relatives
Yep.
do the same darn thing.
Because see, once you start that path down, it forms this path of sin in your life. And that's why guys like the navigators will talk about if you want to stop sin, it's not down here 3/4 of the way down the mountain. I was just reading, what is the largest dam in the world?
The Hoover Dam?
No, makes a Hoover Dam look like a children's
The one in China?
tunnel. Nope.
Yeah, I don't know.
Three Rivers Dam in China.
The
It's
China,
almost 2
yeah.
kilometers long. It holds so much water that when they filled it, it slowed the rotation of the earth
Wow.
by microseconds, but it slowed it because of the,
I thought the core rotated the Earth.
it does, but that water being gathered in that spot literally had an effect on the rotation of the earth. What?
It's the Yangtze
Oh, yeah.
River. I forget what it's called. It's
The
ginormous.
Yangtze River, yeah. And it's moving. The dam is moving. It's shifting downriver.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't. China has made it a crime to discuss the engineering defects of the dam in China. You will be arrested and imprisoned
Of course.
if you mention a problem with the dam.
So that means someone's gonna knock on the door?
Well, they can't arrest us here, but you can't, and so their engineers can't discuss, is this a real issue? Is this a problem? Is this a threat? 400 million people live under that dam in the flood zone.
And do you think they care?
If that dam ruptures, a wall of water 200 feet high will flash downriver at a speed of over 100 miles an hour
Wow.
and kill 400 million people.
How long has that dam been there?
30 years?
Okay, so it's
It's
modern.
relatively
Oh,
new.
That's
Yeah,
relatively
it's
modern,
very new, yeah.
Okay.
I think it was the 90s that it was
All right.
finished. So my point is, you can't stop sin when you've put it behind a dam the size of the Three Rivers Dam. If you let it get that full, sooner or later, that sin's gonna bust forth, and when it does, the time to divert sin is up at the top of the mountain before it gets started, before it gains speed. You need to deflect it out of that course. You need to deflect your thinking up at the top of the mountain. That's why the Bible says, guard your heart, because out of it flows the issues of life. Don't try to stop the sin after you've played with it for 3 weeks. You've got to nip it right at the very top when that first raindrop falls at the top. You've got to put it into a different path. Does that make sense?
So what do you tell somebody who has gone too far? You're out of luck, it's the
Well, no, but what that means is you have to be even, since you have this natural gully there, you have to be absolutely ruthless to never let that rain go into that gully, because once it gets in that gully, it's not going to jump out. You've got to be all the more ruthless to keep it out of that gully up at the top. Because as Seymour Hoffman found, once that gets in that gully, you're going to have an issue. Does that all make sense? And that does mean for people who are dealing with young people, the more you can turn them from it today, the less you know. That's why, look at Romans. We looked at this Sunday at church. But look at Romans 16.
Did you say Romans 13?
16.
Thank you.
verse 19.
For your obedience is come abroad unto all men. I am glad therefore on your behalf, but yet I would have you wise unto which is good and simple concerning evil.
So he says you need to be wise about good and you need to be ignorant about evil. The more personal experience you have with evil, the more power it has over you. The more you pet it and play with it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Mhm.
Hey, I had a quick question about Antiochus Epiphanes. I've heard tell that he was considered one of the evilest men that ever lived.
Well, he is one of 3 biblical characters, or, well, he is because of the book of Daniel, where he's predicted, but he's one of 3 biblical characters who are a prototype of Antichrist.
Doesn't get much worse than that.
Yeah.
The 3 prototypes of Antichrist are from the book of Daniel, Antiochus Epiphanes. From Revelation, you have 2. The first one being a name you all know,
Caesar?
Nero.
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 And another name you may not know, Domitian.
No, I don't know that.
Domitian was the emperor when John is writing Revelation. He's the emperor in the 90s AD.
Is his name, he named in the Bible? Is that name in the Bible?
No, but he is the one who's being referred to when he talks about this person who is the prototype for this beast that is coming. Nero, we all know about Nero.
Yeah.
What did Nero do? What are the marks? What are the marks of Antichrist? There are specific marks before you can call someone an Antichrist. Being just evil isn't enough.
Oppressing specifically God's
Jeffrey
people.
Dahmer was evil.
But he believed.
Doesn't make him an
He
Antichrist.
was God.
He proclaims,
Persecution of the church?
he proclaims to be God. Number 2, the persecution of
Jews.
God's people. Those are the specifically what makes the marks of Antichrist. What did Nero do? He demanded worship. Nero was the one who really pushed the idea of emperor worship. The emperor is a god. Second of all, what did he do?
Didn't
He
he-
God's
persecuted,
people.
he persecuted both the Jews and the Christians.
He lit
All
them,
God's
didn't he, and put them, like, burn them on crosses or something like that?
Oh, he crucified them, but his big thing was he would set them on fire while alive and put them on poles and let them burn to light the street as torches.
Well, you gave an example a few minutes ago of Antiochus with the, making the people commit
Yeah.
sacrilege and then murder
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Antiochus preached that he was a son of the gods, that he was a divine being whose father was Zeus, and all of that. Yeah. And now, Nero, where did Nero do this? Where did Nero practice his antichristness?
Rome?
Only in the vicinity of the city of Rome, in Italy
The
itself.
slums of Rome.
Well, but throughout Rome, but also in the very immediate vicinity. He didn't care about those people out there. He wanted it where he would feel it, right around him. What did Domitian do? He took everything Nero made true in the city of Rome itself and made it true for the entire empire. So he just took Nero's antichristness and raised it to
A different level.
to a different level, yes. Put it on steroids. And roid raged it. So, by that definition, who are modern people that qualify as an antichrist who are of significant size?
Hitler.
Hitler, yeah.
Hitler.
was one. Stalin was one.
Why Hitler?
1,000-year Reich,
Jews, big
Yeah.
time.
persecuted the
Yep.
Jews.
Well, he absolutely persecuted God's people,
God complex.
but what, did he proclaim himself to be God?
No.
Pretty much so, a
In
supreme
a
race.
way,
How did he
1,000-year Reich.
Joy,
The 1,000-year Reich.
what did Hitler promise?
1,000-year reign
The 1,000-year Reich, the 1,000-year reign. Where did he get that number?
from the Bible.
When he said that I will establish the 1,000-year reign, what was he saying?
I'm God.
I am Jesus. I am the Messiah. I am the German Messiah.
Yep.
He didn't just persecute the Jews,
Oh, no.
he persecuted anyone
Yeah.
that he didn't like.
How many people died in the concentration camps?
Oh,
6 million?
Oh, that's what everybody says. That is not even true.
it's way worse.
Yes.
They might not even know.
12 million.
Because he didn't just
Where do you
persecute
get
the
the
Jews.
where do you get the 6 million from?
That's just what's
Other
called-
Germans.
6 million who?
Jews?
Jews.
Sympathizers.
Right, that's not counting many.
But there were
Mentally
6
ill,
million
Polish.
non-Jews that died in the concentration camps. Gypsies, people from Croatia,
Anybody who was deformed or
Christians who hid Jews.
crippled.
The people who are what we would call today special needs.
Retarded people, yeah.
What about sympathizers? German.
Anyone that didn't fit the
Yeah.
perfect look.
Yeah, right, yeah. He looked more like.
So,
Stalin
And-
wasn't much better.
how was Stalin an antichrist?
Same way.
Did Stalin persecute God's people?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. But how did he claim to be God?
He
Because what was his official religion?
Communism.
He claimed to be what? Starts with an A.
Atheist?
An atheist.
That's right.
That was the official religion of the Soviet Union. But there's a big caveat. There is no God out there, so who is God?
Yeah.
He is.
Not
government.
exactly, but very close. Who is God for communism?
The state.
The state. The state is God. The Soviet Union, or these people today in America that are worshiping at the altar of communism, insane people. Have you seen these people running around
It's growing.
that are holding up these signs, queers for Palestine? or transsexuals for Palestine? Do you understand how insane that is?
We'll kill him.
Yes, they would kill them in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
That is as insane as a flock of chickens holding up signs, chickens for KFC.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like
A
that.
gentleman told us Sunday in church that they went to the Salt Sea and had a celebration there on whatever the day it was that they had for the GLBTQ plus,
Yeah.
whatever.
And where's the Salt
I-
Sea or
they said
the
that-
Dead Sea?
They said that was where the Sodom and Gomorrah was, correct?
But who politically rules that?
Not sure.
Been there, swam in the, well, you don't swim.
Macedonia.
You
Well-
float there. Yeah.
Israel. Israel's the only nation in the Middle East that it's safe to have any kind of dissident views. There was a gentleman who left, I think it was Sweden, to go and show solidarity with the Palestinians. He was one of these liberals, communists, Rainbow Coalition guys. He landed, you can't fly into Gaza because they don't have the infrastructure because they tore it all down. Flew into Israel, crossed into Gaza, and he was dead in 1 hour. They threw him off a building, killed him. He went to stand with them in solidarity against the oppressive Jews in Israel. They let him land, let him pass through, let him go into Gaza. Didn't bother him in the least. He was dead as soon as he crossed the border.
Well,
They grabbed him and threw him off a building. And
I don't understand why these other ones they didn't kill, but that
because they weren't in
they
Gaza.
were actually in Israel.
They're in Israel. The Dead Sea is in Israel. That's under Israeli control.
And they won't do that.
And they don't do that. What is a third of the Israeli, the citizenship of Israel? Well, it's under a third.
Muslim.
Quarter. Muslim. Israel is the only nation in the Middle East where Muslims have a vote. Is that insane or what?
Yeah.
Anyway, he says here, be wise about what's good. Think about that. Be as ignorant as possible about experiencing evil. Because the more experience you get in evil, the more natural your inclination is toward that. People will say, and I know there are Christians who fight against that, you know, the cry of the left is that they're born gay or they're born this or born that. Does that comport with Christianity?
No, it's a choice. It's a sin. They choose it.
Well, I would say that you're more prone to certain sins than other people are.
Through exposure, yeah.
No,
Not
there's
even
other
just
sexual-
from exposure. Look at 1 Corinthians 10:13.
There's also other sexual immoralities. They're just protecting their one.
What's 1 Corinthians 10:13 say?
There hath no temptation taken you, but such is common to men. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it.
Now, what's that saying about sin?
That there's no temptation that someone else hasn't dealt with.
That every human being experiences temptation. No human being is without temptation. And there is no temptation that someone else doesn't bear. But let me ask you a question. Does everyone have the same temptation?
I would say no.
No.
Why?
Well, one, the devil knows your weak
Different
spots.
experiences.
Right, but why do you have a
Different
weak spot? Like, why is
experiences.
yours different than someone else?
So therefore, because we are all different, we have different personalities. Here's a very outgoing, what we would call today type A personality. You know what I mean by type A personality? You familiar with that term?
Gotta be in charge.
An extrovert?
An extrovert, but a domineering, you know, captain of industry, go-getter, hard driver. That's the type A personality. Executive, sweet, here I come. Here's an introvert who would much rather sit in the library and study physics. Are they going to have the same temptation?
No.
No.
Nope.
So our personality dictates somewhat the temptations that we suffer. Everyone who deals with drugs, does every person who takes a drink become an alcoholic?
No.
Are there some people who can take a drink and put it down and never not drink for 2 or 3 years and then go to a party, have a beer, have one shot, and then never be affected again?
Yep.
And 3 years later have another drink and it doesn't bother them a bit. Are there other people that they take one drink and tomorrow it's 2 and next month it's 5? And 6 months down the road, they're a full-blown alcoholic.
Yep.
Is that because one had more willpower than the other?
No.
And I'm going to say no. Our personalities determine what sins appeal to us.
That must have been rough in Bible times when everybody had to drink alcohol. It wasn't like you could say, I might be tempted by it. You had no choice.
Yeah. And as they find, as you go to if you go to Russia today, they start their children drinking vodka 4 or 5 years of age, maybe younger. You know what the alcoholism rate is? It's not 100%, even though everybody drinks it at that age. Some people doesn't appeal to them. But it's huge, 30-40% of the population, some people are saying, in Russia are alcoholics. I think it's a miracle that it's not higher. But why? Because certain sins appeal to us in a cocktail of sin that's unique to each of us.
Which is why Donald Trump has so much problem with that,
And what's Donald Trump's cocktail, just from what we know about him publicly? Pride, arrogance, ego. Also, what else? Vindictiveness.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my enemies. That's what appeals to him. We all have to fight our cocktail of sin. But we need to recognize what that cocktail is to do that. We need to be honest enough to say what our struggles are. Because that may be different. I have never had, I've been drunk once in my life, and I've never taken drugs other than when I was prescribed, and then I took barely what I needed. I got drunk when I was, 9 or 10 years old. I went to a wedding, and somebody had spiked the punch.
Oh, wow.
I just,
Very Russian of you.
this is, 7-Up and fruit juice and rainbow sherbet. You ever had that thing?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Tastes good.
that stuff is delicious, man. I don't know. But somebody spiked it with vodka. I was sick. I hated it. I loathed that feeling of getting out of control, of looking like an idiot. When I was a teenager and I'd be hanging out with the older guys on the farm, they go, have a beer. I go, can I have a Pepsi instead? I didn't want the stuff. I didn't like the stuff. Does that make me better than somebody else? Because I have a different cocktail of sins. And mine appeal to me just as much as those drugs appeal to the most.
Yeah.
So, if that's true, is it impossible that there are people who are born with part of their cocktail of sin is an attraction to the same sex?
What's that? What are you asking again now?
I personally think that's demonic.
Well, it could be. All sin is.
Yeah, all sin is.
But
Well, that's
are there
really-
people who are born with their cocktail of sin
Their
includes
proclivities.
an attraction to the same sex? In other words,
That could most definitely be.
yeah, they were born with a propensity towards homosexuality. That's part of their makeup of sin. That's how sin manifests itself in their life.
But
Does
part
that
of what
make
they,
them worse than a person who is born with a attraction to the opposite sex and a desire to engage in any kind of sexual encounter with people of the opposite sex?
Like
Well,
outside of
personally-
marriage, right?
Personally,
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's not for us to judge.
So,
It's us to give them the ideas of truth and sin. but
my
it's not
point
for us to
is,
judge.
that even
So
if a
for God to
person
judge.
is born homosexual is irrelevant. You can acknowledge, okay, you were born homosexual. I was born with a craving for heterosexual immorality. I have to say no to that. You were born with that. That's what you're saying. You've always been attracted to men as a man or woman as a woman.
You have to say no to it.
You have to say no to it, just like I have to say no to heterosexual
Exactly.
immorality.
It's just like alcohol, drugs, the whole
Donald
spiel.
Trump has to say no to his pride and arrogance just as much as that heroin user has to say no to fentanyl.
It's all sin.
Because
Yeah, but-
we all have that individualized cocktail of sin. And so when you come back to Hebrews, and this is where we start and we're going to end so Paul can go eat. So when it says the sin that so easily entangles, there are sins that do not easily entangle you. Every one of us here, there are sins that do not easily entangle you. You can be there and go, I don't want anything to do with that. Ugh. No. But there are also sins that do easily entangle you. And you need to be honest enough about what those sins are and set yourself up to overcome the sins that easily entangle you, regardless of what easily entangles other people. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
God bless. Have a great day. God bless.
Have a good night,
everybody.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Good night, all.
Night.